Welcome to New Earth Mystery School, everyone. My name is Miriam Husnat, and I'm so excited to be with you all again for another class. Thank you for being here, my community, and for everyone who is dropping in. The chat is always so fun, but I'm going to try to stay focused. As I introduced our guest for today, my friend, my mentor, my teacher, Pamela Erlin. I have so many amazing stories that I could tell you about my experience with tuning into Pamela's work. I have been watching her online on YouTube for years now. And there are quite a few people who I would consistently watch everything that they would post. And Pamela was one of those people that quickly for me just elevated to the level of a master teacher in so many ways, not just because of the things that she was teaching and the resonance that they held for me, but because of how she would, just how she moves and how she carries herself online. Because if you know, being on YouTube can be kind of tough. I've wavered in and out of wanting to be visible on YouTube, as it is a platform that I consider to be pretty challenging. And just to see how Pamela navigates that space with so much integrity and with so much grace and with so much authenticity, that alone for me was medicine. So prior to having actually interacted with her one-on-one or taken any classes with her directly, I just always loved her work. And I was happy to then start to step in a little bit more closer to her through taking some classes. And I was always in the background. I wasn't visible. And then I remember the first time that I interacted with Pamela, I stepped forward and I asked a question, and it was the Lyran Feline class. She has a series of classes that she had online. You could access them through her website. And it was the Lyran Feline class. And I don't know why, because I never felt called to raise my hand before. And I didn't really have a question. And I just felt called to raise my hand. And she has, she has this thing in her class where you can raise your hand, you can come on screen. And I remember before I came on screen, she said, "Wow, your energy is so interesting." And she said, are you from the Middle East? Are you from North Africa? Like right away, she kind of tuned into my energy, and that alone blew me away. And then from that point, I asked some question that came through, and she confirmed so many things for me. She confirmed my Lyran Feline connection. She confirmed my relationship with the Divine Feminine. She confirmed my relationship with the Archangel Collective, the Seraphim. I mean, it's like when you have these ideas in your mind that you kind of think, you're like, I think this is like where I come from. I think this is who I am. And you have someone literally in like 30 seconds confirm, that for me spoke to the level of clarity and connection and the conduit that Pamela is. She's that clear. It's not like you're going to have a vague reading from her. She's very, very clear. And the message that she gave me that day is, she said, I need you to trust yourself. And that's when I knew, I was like, this person is my mentor. And so since then, I've taken many classes with her. I am a student in her online portal that I'll tell you guys about in a little bit. She actually started that at the same time that I started this school. So it was really exciting to see that was happening. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm on track. I'm on my path. So I could say so many other things about Pamela. And then I had the blessing of being the facilitator while she did a channeling of the Divine Feminine Collective. And that was just mind-blowing for me. So I know many of you have watched that. So I'm so excited to introduce Pamela as our guest and to have her here. And I knew after that channeling, I was like, this community would benefit so much from her teachings. And I didn't know what the topic was going to be, but shortly after, Pamela did a channeling where she talked about how our relationship with the Akashic Records was changing. And I knew that was the topic. I said, this is it. I want this to be the introduction to the Akashic Records that we have in this school, with someone who is bringing through the most current, the most empowering, the most leading edge information, cutting through all of those old ways that we might have interacted with the Akash, and really having you guys learn about it in a way that's new and it's really, really beautiful. So that's who our guest is today. And I'm going to step back and just be a student and watch. And I am so super excited.
Oh, don't step too far back. I love your interactions. I am so excited. And if you feel that as I'm teaching this class, if you would like to step in as a co-facilitator, ask me any questions, please feel free to interrupt me. You know, you and I flow together incredibly well. And I am just so excited for that.
Absolutely. I'm here.
If you want to interject or you have something to say, you have something in your teachings that aligns with that, please don't step too far back. Feel free to interact. You know, I love interaction. And that's with everybody as well. And how I teach is incredibly interactive. I'm going to be watching the chat. I'm going to be watching the Q&A to see if anything that you're saying is connecting, relating, if there are things that you might want to ask along with what I'm teaching today. I am teaching some ancient alchemy mystery school information that you may already be familiar with in relation to the Akash. However, I'm going to be teaching a lot of spiritual inquiry. So for those of you who were a part of my class called The Art of Spiritual Inquiry, which was so relevant, at least from my perspective, that I was led to put it publicly on YouTube, it's going to be a little bit of that, except much more. Inquiry is incredibly important. And I feel as a teacher and just observing as a sort of an ambassador, if you will, for the angelic collectives that are here, which is a lot of you listening today, a lot of you earth angels, a lot of you coming so strongly in through the divine feminine, a lot of the channels and the healers and spiritual teachers and light workers, sound workers alike. We're all coming through such oneness together, where divine masculine collectives are being healed by divine feminine. I know that Miriam has likely covered the power of that, what is being healed in the divine masculine in the current collectives. So these teachings are going to bring you more into unity, where you're understanding how to kind of be on Gaia right now and access the Akasha, both with respect to some of the ancient alchemy teachings from mystery schools, both ancient and modern, as well as a little bit more new information that would be relevant for the Earth Angel collectives that are incarnating and embodied today, who are watching and growing and bringing in this new information, me being one of many of you. So a lot of this information may be also arising in your hearts, and where you feel just a little bit, say, triggered and kind of catalyzed by some of the old teachings and going, well, that's all good and I'm still connecting and there's something more. I don't know if any of you are feeling that right now, but I know I sure am. And it kind of got me in this place as a teacher who's a rather a bit of a catalyst. Um, it kind of put me in this place where I'm like, I started to get incredibly triggered. So I had to sit and heal with that, especially during the recent Lemurian sisterhood channeling, when that was coming through. And then another being who you well know, this collective's name is Cryon, was coming through simultaneously after that channeling and before. And all of them were talking, saying, it's changing, it's shifting, it's changing, it's shifting. And there's nothing wrong with old teachings, but it was relevant then. And you can still keep what is congruent with your belief system if it is serving you. And learn to discern and trust your wisdom when it is not. So if that is catalyzing you and really, really pulling you out of older teachings, it's for a reason. So we're bringing in some information, and I don't want to call it new, but I will say that the art of spiritual inquiry has been lost and replaced more with ego thought questions that we feel is serving us. But if we go deeper into spirit, deeper into our goddess selves, deeper into both divine masculine and divine feminine in a way that honors both, then we will understand that inquiry is going to be so important to how you're viewing the Akash and how you're viewing something else that we're going to teach about today. So there are two levels of teachings that I'm going to be bringing you today. One, and then for those of you who have taken my Journey Through the Akashic, the Journey Through the Akasha class, part 1 talks about some of the things we're going to talk about today in very basic, because I don't want to do much repeat because a lot of it has changed even since then. And then in part 2 of Journey Through the Akasha, we talked about a type of record that not many are familiar with because it does not identify with the past. In no way, shape, or form will it bring in your identity from something that has already been done. That is not good, that is not bad. It is just simply a pulling everything in that you have expanded from the Akash into the now. So this is a very powerful, relevant record that the Seraphim have taught me. And this record is called the Concordant Records. So for those of you who've been in that class, let me know, because I want to do an incredible amount of repetition if you've already heard me talk about it. And even since I taught that very powerful class in part 2 of Journey Through the Akash, there are levels of inquiry that are coming through that are more relevant to now. It is always changing as we grow and as we expand and as we shift. So any questions about class material? Are you happy about that? It is like a quantum record, someone said. It is like that. So you're excited? That's good. Let's start with the Akashic records. I'm going to be sharing some symbols that you will recognize because you are students of Miriam. They're really, really important. I discuss them in my exclusive community on Patreon. I discuss them in Journey Through the Akasha. I discuss them in my bilocation classes. I discuss them in the All Seeing Eye class. And I need to share them again because they are still relevant. So we're going to go about that right now. Let me move my chat and my Q&A out of the way. You're new to all of it? It looks like some of you are. Some yes, some no. It's mixed back here. So we're going to share these symbols again. Let me pull them up. Give me just a second. Okay. Share screen. Okay, desktop. Here we go. All right. Can everybody see that? All right. This, and I don't know if you could see it more when I expand it or if it's the same when I do like that. Is it lesser when I expand it or more? Because I can expand it again, but it doesn't seem much different. If you can see it like this, I prefer to keep it this way. Looks great? All right. So this first symbol here is called the symbol of communications. I know it looks like an H, but it is a bridge of both the Akashic records and the concordant records. The Akash is basically a record, a library of everything that you have already expanded from in your past. So these are what a lot of humanity is calling past lives, the Akasha, the Akashic records. Basically, it's a record of everything that you've already done and learned from. So if you have a past, which a lot of us who are ancient souls do, there's not a lot of us who are new souls. We'll talk about that next week in one of my channelings. But a lot of us here today are ancient, and most beings that have the privilege of being on Earth are ancient. Earth is not a boot camp. And all the lives that you had here, you've been blessed to have because you are talented, powerful, and within your divinity enough. Earth is like spiritual grad school. If you're here, you're blessed and you're powerful. So we'll start the class with that. Do not diminish your power as an angelic earth angel being, as a divine feminine goddess. For those of you who connect more with the divine masculine, you are in a stage of healing right now. Do not diminish that. So communications. This is asking to see, hear, and know the message. So what I urge you to do is to screenshot right now. You know, for those of you who are on Mac, I believe it is Command Shift number 4. Command Shift 4, and then use your mouse to draw around the screen, and it will screenshot directly to your desktop, and you can have all of these symbols yourself. And I don't know how, Miriam, how you feel about this, but if you want me to email you a copy of all these symbols, I can do that as well, so your class can have them. I'm completely open to that. They belong to Earth. They don't belong to me. They're just given for free use for anyone who wants to. Is that okay?
Yeah, that would be beautiful. Thank you so much.
Perfect. I will email them to you in a PDF, and then you can give them to whoever needs them, or you guys can screenshot. Either way. So communications, this is where you start. So I would like for you to connect with me for a bit before we start going over these symbols. What do you believe that the Akash is? I've given you my definition, but type it out in the chat. What is it to you? What are you thinking that it is? A record of your soul journey. I would say it's more of a record of the mind and body journey. That is because the past do not exist, and the mind and the body expand through the past. But when we talk about the concordant records, which we'll talk about here soon, you are expanding from higher mind or spirit. So when you expand from soul, that's more mind and body and expression and expansion of God insofar as how he or she comes in through you. Spirit is concordant. So yes, it is similar to Book of Life. It's a book of all the ancient records of collective experiences. Now you're on it. Here is why so many people come and they say, oh, I got a record. I got tapped in. I sat with someone who can channel the Akash, and I got information. And then I went to someone else and I got different information. And then I went to someone else and I got different information. Let's talk about that for a minute, because that definitely needs to be discussed. Felicia, you had said that this is an ancient record of collective experiences. That is your answer as to why. So basically, everyone who views it sees it from a fractionalized perspective. If you still have an ego, if you still have a body, which most beings do, then it's very rare that many people are sitting in bodies without egos. But if you have an ego and a body, you are seeing from a fractionalized perspective your unique God experience. The moment you come into a body from spirit, you create a soul experience, which becomes a part of this record, and you see it like a kaleidoscope over your vision. And you turn it a little bit of a different way, because God in you is going to see it slightly different than God in Miriam, God in me. This is why people see the Jesus story in the Akash very differently. And some people will argue that he did not die at all. Some people believe he had a near-death experience. Some people believe he was never on the cross. Some people believe he was fully on the cross and completely died for our sins. That is because each story in the Akash is how God wishes to learn from that unique expression. So any question about that? That's why it's different for everybody, and that's okay. That means we're all right. Isn't that beautiful? That we all don't have to go around going, well, that teacher said Jesus didn't, and that teacher said Jesus did. It drives me crazy. It really does. I get so incredibly catalyzed and triggered when people go, well, this teacher's right and you're wrong, and you're right and that teacher's wrong. And I'm like, actually, we're all absolutely divinely perfect in our essence and in our expressions, and we're all learning in unique ways that will serve the collective. So that's what I wanted to say about that. So we asked, what is it? We know what it is. Why is it? Why do you believe that it is there? Yes, I teach by questioning you. There's a reason for that. To guide you? Do you believe that God in you requires guidance? I'm going to catalyze you. I know you expected that. Why is it? Because it is a part of God consciousness. Why is it? To remember? Well, how about to realize what always is, always was, and always will be? What if everything that you think has happened has already happened and is already perfect in every possible outcome? You're just asking to realize it. You're asking to communicate so that you can realize the divinity and the perfection of all that is already forgiven. Someone said to give us help on our path. Do you believe that God needs help? Yes, I'm going to ask you catalyzing questions. You can answer. There's no wrong answer. I am not testing you. I am giving you a level of inquiry that will catalyze you into a deeper awareness. And you're doing the same with me. It was most likely useful when we were operating through the belief of karma. Bingo! It is an old paradigm. And for those of you who are operating in that paradigm, it is, yes, still useful. And for those of you who aren't, it may no longer serve you. And how can you know that? By how you feel in your body and in the mind when you access it. Is it your birthright to access your records? Absolutely. And the soul will not give you access if you no longer need it and if it is no longer relevant or disempowering to your journey. Another answer to connect everything and everyone. Now you're on it. The Akash is given to us for unity, forgiveness when needed, and connection. So that we can move on to what is real, which isn't the past. The past is illusion, even though it was helpful and for some of you is still helpful. When you go into what is real is not past or future. What is real is now. An interesting question, Emily, or statement rather. She said, I feel trapped between clear karma and no karma. What do you mean by that? Between the need to clear it and the belief that it doesn't exist? Is that what you mean? Yeah, I'm bringing new concepts to you, and I'm really, really aware of that. Akasha represents karma, which, by the way, is no longer relevant. Many of you are learning that and catching on to it because of Miriam's teachings. And that's why I love her so, for many, many thousands of reasons. And then the concordant records, which we're also going to teach about today, is brought to you to connect to the now, because you no longer need karma. So what would that mean then? In some ancient beliefs, they call this dharma. I call it goodness. I'm really not into labels and definitions of cultural or religious concepts. I will give you those labels and definitions for a point of reference for deeper understanding. If we have forgotten that we need guidance, how about if you've forgotten that you don't need it? Yes, Miriam, she said, so the Akashic records become old paradigms as we're moving to higher realms. Absolutely. Now you're on it. And guess what? We're at a tipping point, according to what the Seraphim and Elohim teach me and show me daily. We are at a tipping point right now, about 49% third dimension and 51% fourth and fifth. Isn't that amazing? We switched. We went to a time and space continuum where there's a little bit more of people who need now paradigm and are no longer benefited by old paradigm. Oh, Emily is expanding upon what she said earlier, and she said, I mean to look back through it even after I did the work to clear it. That is an ego deception. Ego is incredibly good at this. Now, I want to make it clear that I am not a teacher that believes in ego elimination as being necessary, unless you do. I personally do not. I believe that ego is creative and beautiful and powerful, and there's a reason why we have bodies. The mind is a beautiful servant of the heart, but it does not do so well when it becomes its master. The heart is always the master of the mind and the ego. They work well together, and logic is fun. That is why we have egos, because it is fun and creative. But the ego will also try to teach you that if you feel bad, if you feel anything negative, that means something is unhealed, unwhole, imperfect in your body or mind, and that is not True. That is based upon old program from the Akash and programs that are continuing from the Akash that relates to recent childhood experiencing, negative core beliefs that come in this lifetime and in others that you are purposely carrying through because you believe they still serve you. As long as you continue to believe they still serve you, the feelings that come from those karmic lessons really connect and really continue to expand from you. Why is karma no longer relevant? Because we decide that we're worthy and whole and perfect and love. We decide all those things collectively. We are at 51%, not 49. We're in that. And we're here to bridge the consciousness for those who don't feel that they can be in that, because they already are, they just don't remember.
I want to give an example that I think came through recently in one of your videos that I was watching online. And I believe you were on YouTube live, and you were talking about different concepts and how different concepts are no longer relevant. And someone in the comments said something to you like, you're evil, right? And I remember that what you said to them was, if that's true, if I am evil, forgive me. Mm-hmm. And that completely blew me away, and it didn't surprise me. But what I loved about that is your just consistency with these teachings on forgiveness, because when I started to receive the information that karma is done, and it wasn't just that karma is done, meaning like, oh, you've done all your karma, that the karmic paradigm was done. And I asked, what is the cheat code, right? For lack of a better word, how do we get out of the karmic paradigm? And what came back every single time was forgiveness, forgiveness. And it was then that I understood that the way that we had been playing in karma and the karmic paradigm, which is in the realm of separation and duality, which means that I do something to this other person, and in order to learn about it, it has to happen back to me, right? And that was the level of consciousness that we were at in the human collective. But then when we started to transcend that and we realized there is no other. So that's not that I'm doing something to the other. It's that we're all one. And everything that we're doing, we're learning through each other. There is no other that I did something to or that did something to me. So it's not even relevant anymore to need to learn through this karmic debt paradigm. And that forgiveness was ultimately how we were going to, the vehicle that was going to allow us to transcend this entire paradigm. And I love that you said that to the person. You said, it's like you didn't miss a beat. You said, if that's how you feel, that there's something in you that's perceiving me that way, then forgive me. And I think that that's just an important reminder of that we are, our egos, or however you want to describe it, are maybe still in a way attached to this old system of punishment and of karma. And that in every moment, we're going to be given those opportunities to meet someone that may literally be saying, I think everything you're doing is wrong. And the response is, well, forgive me then, because I've forgiven myself. So how you release yourself from perceiving it that way is forgive me.
Mm-hmm. And you notice how we don't take that on. Mm-hmm. When you ask for someone's forgiveness, you make it clear that that is their perspective. That is their perception. And it is perception of punishment and sin. It comes from religion and cultural program conditioning throughout time. And it's there, and it's so permeated in that 49% still. So for them, it will still be relevant, and they're going back to the Akasha and going, oh, heal it because I feel bad. And guess what? It becomes your life right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This so relates to my dream last night, the dream that I had last night. And I woke up and I said, okay, this dream is related to class. The dream that I had last night was that I had all of these fears coming up in my life, and that I was directed to, I feel like this had to have been your energy directing me, to write down everything that I think that I'm afraid of. And I remember that I was sitting at this diner, and I was at this, like, on the high chairs at this diner, and I was writing down everything that I think that I'm afraid of. And I realized on some level that if I was to energize those fears, that I could absolutely create them as a reality. But because I was looking at them in this way and seeing the illusion in them, I didn't actually need to manifest them into a reality to learn from them. I could just look at them from this perspective and see what they were wanting to teach me. And so what was happening is, as I was writing each thing down, I would be shown almost in like a movie-like way what I would have learned if that reality would have been created, but I didn't actually need to live through it. So the reason that I think that we get stuck in these perceptions is because there is information there. It is valid. And at the same time, what I think that I understand about the Akash is that all of the things that we could have learned through suffering, through war, through limitation, through lack, it's already in the Akash. It's full of that information. So we have the opportunity now as a collective to not need to experience that anymore, because we learned everything we need to learn from it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And there's going to be some that feel that they want to get into it for other reasons other than healing. So that's why I asked you, why is it there, to inquire more deeply about that. And now here's the final step of what I want to share with you, along with these beautiful symbols that I almost got into before I got on my soapbox. And I want to teach you intention with this. So there's some level of basic intention of asking yourself, why do I want to know? The Akash doesn't open up its gates of knowledge without, it doesn't open it up strictly for the sake of curiosity, is what I've noticed. What I've been taught by the keepers, the angelic keepers, the Seraphim and the Elohim both of the Akash, which include Azrael on the Seraphim side and Raziel on the, Michael sometimes too, working with Raziel on the Elohim side. So, Halel and Lilith as well, Seraphim, Elohim there. So basically, when you go to these beings, which I strongly suggest if you have a connection, if not, just go yourself. You're powerful beings and you don't need a guardian to ask questions to. But I find that when I work with them, I get better answers if I know my intentions and if I have deeply inquired within myself in meditation why I think I believe to know. Why do I want to know? What's the belief there? So there are 3 intentions that you could go towards in the Akash, and one is to ask the guardians of the Akash to show you by saying, my intention is to learn what is most relevant to me now. That is a powerful intention, because if there's something that really is there that you believe might help you now, obviously you're going to want to know it. And it's going to keep you away from the things that aren't relevant now. Like, how is it going to help you to know that you killed someone with your bare hands? How is it going to help you to know that you lost 6 children and had terrible childbirth pain, and that's why you're experiencing now? You think that if you go back and heal that in the Akash, that's going to heal you now. But chances are, if that lesson is serving you, then healing it actually isn't relevant because you're expanding from it now. And that is a soul contract that would best be worked through in the concordant records, because it's still happening now. It can be incredibly disempowering to go backwards without asking what's most relevant. When you find out all of these negative things and disempowering things, and then you start trying to assign blame, it pulls you into a paradigm that I'll call power under. And the power under and power over collectives have been exchanging negative roles and attempting to expand from them since the timing of Atlantis and Lemuria, when you choose to believe in time. So when we go back through the Akash in that way, And we pull forth these negative things thinking that we have to heal something that has already happened in order to be powerful now. Do you understand how disempowering that can possibly be? So ask by saying, my intention is to connect to the most relevant record now. Again, my intention is to connect to the most relevant record now. One more time, say it 3 times when you're going through the Akash. My intention is to connect to the most relevant record now. Somebody take some notes if you want. Second thing you could ask, my intention is to connect to my highest and best now. That's going to pull you into the concordant records. And it's going to show you everything that happened in the Akash that was actually for the highest and best that relates to now. The third thing you can say, my intention is to connect with, and then ask a specific question. I discourage, and this is why I put it third, because it's not really prioritized. I discourage people from going in with specific questions because specific questions are normally from ego. When you trust by asking what is most relevant and what is the highest and best record now, you're going straight into the Godhead within you, straight into everything that is from all of the ancient mystery schools throughout all of time. The second one, yes, I can repeat it. My intention is to connect to the highest and best record now. That also pulls you into the power of the concordant records. So now that we've gone through that, I'm going to show you the symbols that you can memorize, print out for yourself, look at them for a moment, and then go into the Akashic records with the intention that we specified, just by knowing and looking at these symbols. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm not going to scare my screen. Okay, I'm going to share it now. Hang on just a second. Hopefully everyone can see that again so you can screenshot it. This is the one that was taught to me first because it opens up a clear line of communication in ancient alchemy. These are powerful symbols. And I use that to get into the Akash, and I visualize it in my third eye, in my mind's eye. Look at it, close your eyes. Sometimes the eyes does this thing where it kind of formulates an optical illusion reflection, and that is just fine. We don't want to try to think about it for what it is. No, I can't scroll down, but are you looking? You're looking to get to the second one. Think about this one first. Okay. All right. So it doesn't have a sound attached to it. Everything that I teach is coming through source tones, which have been taught to me by angelics. Sound comes first. In most sacred texts, if you go straight back, not that the Bible is the most brilliant example, but we're going to use it anyway because that's what most people know. This is one that is used to access the Akasha when you believe that something needs cleansed or healed. Now, you know how I feel about that, but many people are still stuck in that paradigm, and this helps when you are. So if you know what the star tetrahedron is, it's right here. Visualize that, and sometimes when you visualize it with an image of fire behind it, oh my goodness, is that cleansing of any alleged karma, which we know doesn't exist, but the ego sometimes still believes it does because of New Age teachings. No offense, everyone who still believes. I just don't. Doesn't mean my perspective is right or wrong. This is just what I'm teaching. So fire, it just cleanses. And a part of my essence does connect to the Kali Ma. And she loves fire. She personally taught me this one. So this is a seraphim symbol. Star tetrahedron. Visualize it and put fire behind it. Light that up. I'm sorry for those of you offended, but I'm kind of not, because I just get this way in class. All right, when Lilith and Kali come through, they get this way. So hum, me, hum is the source tone that you can chant while you are connecting to what needs cleansed or healed from the Akash. It means I am you and you are me. How powerful is this? It brings forth instantaneous forgiveness and cleanses away the crap that isn't. So when you sing it, it sounds like this. Sing it with me. We're going to do it 3 times. Hum, me, hum. When you hit the M, the same principle applies as when you're singing Om. Put your teeth together and let your tongue go to the roof of your mouth, right up there. Hum, me, hum. hum, me, hum. Very, very powerful. You can open up your mouth when you hit E if you want. I don't, because I like to get that vibration going in the palate of my mouth the entire time. Overtones, source tones, toning. For those of you who connect to sound as much as I do, you will understand why you need that vibration in the palate of your mouth when you are going through this symbol. So this is a sight and sound class. I believe in light and dark, and the dark is the sound, and the light is the visual of what you're getting in these sacred symbols. Okay, I'm going to move on next. Here we go. Pulling that over there. Okay, for those of you who feel like you need to balance and open the third eye, and you're trying to understand why you fractionalize yourself, we're going over here to the third eye trinity, which is the balance, mind, body, spirit, so that you can understand oneness. When you're operating through the Akasha, we're going to be visualizing this one for that reason when you seek balance. Okay, so this one is Hu. So it's, when you sing it, it's Hu, E, So when you sing Hu, you're going to let every vowel come. I bet you didn't know that this was going to be a vocal lesson. You're going to let every vowel that is between the consonants and between everything come out. So you're going to think that it's just Hu, but the more you practice this, you're going to notice all the es and the ahs and the oo and everything that is involved in vowels in source toning. These are original tones taught by angelics. These are original angelic, seraphim, and Elohim source tones. So it sounds like this. When you hit the E, you know Hu. So when you hit E, lift your tongue to the top of the mouth. And then I call this the sweet spot. If this is the top of the mouth, if this is the bottom of the mouth, when you hit E, begin to lift your tongue up, slow as quickly as you want to when you hit E, and move the tongue back and forth until you hear what sounds like a little bit of a whistle. You will hear it. It will tickle up in your nose or tickle your lips. It feels tickly when you do it at first. And basically you move your tongue back and forth without touching the top of your palate and without touching the back of your teeth. You're about a centimeter below the top of your palate and about a centimeter behind your front teeth. And you're going to move it back and forth slowly until you feel, you won't always hear it, but you will feel a vibration that's different. And eventually, the more you practice it, I used to practice this in the shower when I was a little girl, because when you practice like underwater or in the shower, it's harder underwater. Much different thing that I had to learn called circular breathing in order to do that. So basically, when you practice in the shower, you can hear the overtone. And when you hear it, just observe where your tongue is in the roof of your mouth and hold it there. And then the third tone in that is Om. And you already know that when you hit the M, make sure that the tongue is at the roof of the mouth, the tongue is up to the roof of the mouth again. And hold that, let that M vibrate for as long as possible. So let's say it together. This is for balance of mind, body, spirit. Now, the pitch of these tones don't matter as much, but you as an individual, when calling upon these sacred source tones and sacred shapes and using them to access the Akasha and do things in the Akash, you already know what the intentions are to get access to the Akash, but when you get to them, these are when you can use these symbols here too, and you can sing the whole time, and it will do so much work in the Akash for you. So going back to pitch is not as relevant, but you uniquely will have your own pitch. So if you hit something like I just hit a pitch that wasn't good for me in terms of my particular vibration. So my guidance said, lower that. So listen to your guidance about the pitch of the tones. So I'm going to lower that. See how more powerful that is when you listen to your higher guidance on that? And you could probably feel that vibration more. people who are closing your eyes right now, you're like feeling out your Akash. You will not always get visuals in your Akash, but you, if you are precognizant, will get a knowingness that something needs to be cleared. And if you do not get visions and images flashing through your mind, if you do not go into deep meditation, that's okay. Not everybody's clairvoyant. Empaths watching, you're going to get feelings instead. So keep working with those feelings because you're clearing whether you see or hear or not. Precogs, for those of you, this is called claircognizance, clear knowing, or precognizance, knowing in advance. It's a knowing. So you may not get anything. You may not be feeling anything, seeing anything, hearing anything. For you, you're just going to get a knowingness that you're clearing something or getting information. And it'll come through quick little words, quick little thoughts, quick little something. At which point you might want to come out of meditation, write that down, or keep a recorder by you, record it, and follow it later. So yes, I call them sacred symbols. They are taught throughout every mystery school on earth, and they are ancient. Okay, the third one over here, this is when you see something in the Akash that makes you afraid, or you are accessing the Akash because you are afraid and need protection. So if you see something that you don't like and you want to call upon protection, when you believe that you need it, you instantaneously do. That's how the universal law of reciprocity works in ancient alchemy. So this is air. So we're going to breathe and connect to our breath and prana, the life force, and breathing in through the nose. I love this technique. If you hold one nostril, breathe in, switch it, put your hand here, breathe out on the other side. Do that 3 times before you utilize this symbol. I am on the octahedron and air. I am over here. This is the one that you use when you feel you need protection in your life now, or if you see something in the Akasha that scares you and you feel you need it then. This is a great symbol for working through the Akasha when you feel that you are having problems with entities. I'm not sure why you're not seeing it, because this is I've got it on everything here, all 4 symbols. So it is this one over here. You see my pointer? Let's see if I can. It's here. See it? Now I need to clear that. Clear my drawing. Oh, that works. I'm learning how to use this. You are going to experience some pretty trippy sounds. You're so funny. Stop annotating. I love Zoom's ability to mark up these things, though. I'm sorry for technical distortions. There are singing bowls behind me, and they love me, and they interact with me, and they talk back to me. So if that's happening, my apologies, but they love us. It happens. So you can't see the symbols. Is everyone seeing all the symbols, and you know that we're on the octahedron and air and breath? You can see all 4. Okay, super. If you feel like it, I will give you some toning with the bowls if we have time. I need to hurry up, though, in order to do that. Okay, so you're going to use that, and the sacred tones that come along with that, there are 4 of them. Om, Saha, Nav, Avatu. So that's a little harder. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Om Sahana Bhavatu, Om Sahana Bhavatu. Just like it sounds. When you are in the Akash, and you'll get to the bottom too, guys, don't worry about it. I will scroll up, but I want people to get a chance to screenshot this without worrying about all this just yet. So let's take it slowly. It's a lot of information. So these are that way because they're ancient from even prior to Sanskrit. And this is Sanskrit was based upon these tones. So this is pre-Sanskrit. And that's why it sounds a little bit like that. And when you visualize yourself in the center of it, and you're like, you are, let me annotate again, you are here. I like to put my inner child here. So when you're in the center of it and you visualize it all the way around you, this is around you and you are here where these numbers are, it's very powerful. The next symbol, I'm scrolling up now, is, I'm going to annotate so everybody knows, is, come on, annotation, didn't work, hang on. is here. Okay, everybody see where we are? We are on the icosahedron. We're here. Okay, I'm going to clear that now that everyone knows where we are. Represents water. So water is the essence that where God can permeate through you. This is to connect to your I am. This is when you want to get everything that invokes God in you. This is an enlightening, spiritual awakening, connecting to all of your spiritual gifts simple. So when you have an intention to really want to open up your spiritual gifts, your unique I am in you, use this one. I like to sit in the middle of it and visualize that this is a big old pool and I am here in the center where this number one is. So NRG. Now NRG is the same weird tone that happened a while ago when I was doing the E, when I put my tongue at the top of my palate. NRG will naturally happen when you do that. But the lip placement is a little bit weird on this. Lip placement on that looks like you are a fish or like you're kissing. So and don't move your mouth when you get to that. Just hold it that way when you get to the NRG, like this. Do it with me. We all look silly together. So it sounds like this. Om Om Om. I personally, because of my background in Tibetan Buddhism and ancient India and so many things, I end up doing a lot of mudras when I do these. So if your hands feel like moving, that's perfectly okay. My hands go here when I do this one. I don't know why. You're doing it too. It's natural. Okay. And now I'm going to annotate so you know where we are. Just kind of put a little circle around it. We are on Earth. Okay. Now this is a fun one. Powerful, powerful, powerful. This is called the Alchemy Cube. And it is, looks like my assistant there has, supposed to be Satnam, not Satnam, but that's okay. So we are on this one. This is what you use when you want to get your higher self name and names in other lifetimes. Like if you want to know if you have an Isis God coming through you, if the fractal of Isis is also coming through you, you will get an access through names and lifetimes with those names when you use this particular symbol. Okay, so it is just Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. Easy and just like it sounds. Okay, so we're moving on from the Akashic Records at this time and we're going on to Concordant. So this is even more powerful than what we have already taught. So moving, hang on a second, here. Okay. This is what we use to get into the Concordant Records, okay? All right. First of all, you're going to invoke immortal light. This is when, and this is called the Eye of Alchemy, so I'm going to annotate again so you know where we are. And you know what? That I look like a third grader when I draw that. Hang on. Hold on, mouse. We are here. Eye of Alchemy, invoking immortal light. Everybody got that? So first of all, I want to ask you what you believe that it is. What do you believe that Concordant Records is? Start there. Got about 10 more minutes of teaching before we begin to take more questions. Yes, it is the present. It is the now. And yes, it is oneness, and that is the reason why we're connecting to it, expanding from oneness. When I look at the Concordant Records, I'm going to stop screen sharing a moment. Can you see me now, or am I still screen sharing? I'm still learning how to use all this. Did you still see the screen, or can you see me? Looks like I'm still screen sharing. Okay, hang on. Gonna clear that drawing and find a way to stop share. Here we go. Okay, so back to me for just a second, just because I want to show you this. You guys understand what you see in all of God's creatures, which I call the Fibonacci spiral of the sparrow of life? It looks, for those of you who don't know, if this is the center, this is God that is you in the now. And when you learn something and you kind of get an instant dharmic boost, you go up. And when you're learning something that's harder, energy goes down. Oh, thank you, Pen. I'm going to have to do this first. And then you have a new point of reference. When you get energy that's hard and has karmic influence, you clear it, and then you come back up through dharmic patterns again. Life gets all easy, and you're like, oh, look, I expanded more. And then you learn the same lesson again, which brings you back down into karmic implication, and life gets harder. This is why there are so many highs and lows. When you connect all of these dots that are you remember that this always is, that you cannot lose God, that is this center, that is this unity, that is this oneness. This is why creation is seen that way in all life. When you pick up a seashell and you see that, you pick up the Ankh, you pick up so many of God's creatures, and the ammonite crystals, for those of you who are going through that. This is you creating. This is the beauty of God. This is you. Sunflowers. Yes, so many things. That's why. So, here are the intentions that you can use to access the concordant records. The first one is, what wants to happen that is most relevant? You don't have to say now, because you already know that you're in the now. What wants to happen that is most relevant? There's a reason why I'm focusing on an action-based question. You're about to find out that reason in a moment. What wants to happen that is in the highest and best? And then the final one, what wants to happen with a specific person or situation? This will bring you back into your power when you cannot make a decision, that final intention. What wants to happen with, fill in the blank, with a specific person or situation in your life that you are confused about. It breaks through confusion, this particular intention, like no one's business. So when you go through this, it brings you back to the power of taking back the power to create. That's why I say what wants to happen in the first two intentions, because you understand that much like the Fibonacci spiral, you're here and you're going to create here. You're not going to create here, going downward in the spiral. You're going to create here. This is you. You're going to create here. When you say what wants to happen, the Akasha's here. Concordant is here. You are learning instant six-dimensional manifestation when you follow these teachings. You didn't know that, did you? Now you do. Yeah, this is how you get into really strong instant manifestation. So what wants to happen? Instant six-dimensional manifestation question. Because you're going to start to what? Wonder. I love that word. Wonderful connection to the power that is called the miracle in the angelics. For those of you who are ACIM followers, A Course in Miracles, A Way of Mastery, my book, A Course in Forgiveness and A Course in Grace, which I'm working on, and all that you had access to, that's there. How do I spell Fibonacci? Someone else will spell it for you. I'm going to keep going. I love you. And then there is something else that you could ask that's powerful. And if you ask it in this order, it is incredibly powerful. What is forgiveness? Go into the concordant records with that. What is acceptance? Go into the concordant records with that. What is compassion? What is love? What is flow? What is trust? What is grace? All of those intentions are going to change your life, especially when you do them in that order. Okay, and then here's an affirmation that you're going to do after you have accessed the concordant records. And it is, there are 4 different ones. God in me thinks, fill in the blank, and write down what came from your records. God in me feels, blank, fill in the blank that you feel, know, see, or hear from the records. God in me does, blank. These records are going to become potentials for the future. Write it down. Create a journal for this. God in me is, that is the most powerful thing that you can create from affirmations to use after these records. God in me is blank, fill in the blank. There will be a word, a feeling, a thought, a knowingness of a feeling. And then you'll find yourself going back to God is forgiveness, God is acceptance, God is compassion, God is trust, God is flow, God is grace. And for you, that will be your new mantra in your life. And it will bring you into instant flow with God. And when you're ready, oneness. Okay? That's all the teaching that I have today. And I tried to pull it all in as quickly as possible.
You did amazing. So amazing. I'm just going to ask you all now so that we can honor Pamela's time to put a few questions in the Q&A. She's going to pick as many feel relevant that still feel like they want to be answered at this time. So put those, go to the Q&A bubble and put a few questions in there. I thought I was going to have so many more questions. You covered so much. I love that you covered all of those ancient alchemy symbols and the source tones. Those are my favorite. I've been practicing them since I first encountered them through you. I don't think I mentioned that Pamela is an alchemist, so she does teach ancient alchemy. And just know that those tools are very powerful and they do work. As you start working with them, you'll see things in your life will start moving around and shifting and changing. I do want to say that I love that you gave that clarification between the verbiage of the concordant records. I think that the way that I had been using terminology, the Akashic records, was all encompassing of everything. And I love that distinction that you gave because it does feel more succinct to access them as the concordant records. And I do think that that falls really in line with the way that I've experienced them in my ability to, let's say, tap into gifts that I already have, talents that I already have. I have definitely been able to, let's say, download something from the book of concordant records that is relevant right now, that is a gift or a talent that I have potentially mastered in a parallel lifetime. So I think my question would be for, aside from the alchemy symbol that you offered, if someone feels that there is potentially a talent or a gift that they feel, let's say they know in some way that they have, you know, musical talents or a connection with plants or something like that, that they feel really resonant with something and they feel that it would be relevant to their path right now, what would be the way that they could, first of all, discern if it's wanting to come through from ego programming? And then how would they access that specifically in the concordant records to be of the highest good at this time?
Okay. Well, it kind of doesn't really matter if it's coming from ego or not. Because when you're working in the concordant records, we're not necessarily trying to eliminate ego, but we're trying to make that the servant to the Godhead in the heart within you. So we're going to pull ego into that oneness, because to try to view something as separate is just so against universal law. So I love that we have egos, you know. I think it's beautiful. We wouldn't be here in bodies if we weren't here to create from. So if you have something, you're like, I want to be a superstar because I have a great voice, I want to be an actress. So what? Pull it into your Akasha and see what you can do with it and go affect the world. Why are we hiding our light? I think that what you said, going back to how you're teaching, I don't think it's wrong at all. I think that it is all encompassing, and it's very unifying to believe that there's just one record. This is just a new word, new terminology that angels feel that people could stand to learn, and that's all that it is. It doesn't mean you were doing it wrong. You're absolutely spot on. So now we have a new word to describe what you were already doing as the goddess that you are.
I love it. It feels so right. I love it. It feels so empowering as just a way to just signify specifically what we really mean. I love that language can be used in that way, and I love that new content can come through in that way.
Yeah. So we just have language for something that's going to empower us that you probably were already doing, according to what I'm sensing about your work anyway. And in the midst of one of your questions, I want to share a screen because I realized that I forgot insofar as how to access that information. I'm going to pull it up because I realized that we got here and then we just didn't finish it. So we're going to go over this real quick. Here's how you access it. First of all, you visualize the Eye of Alchemy, which is here. We're going to use the, let's see, here. This one over on the left. So this is NRG, R-E-E, Ram, R-A-M. So this is calling upon the Eye of Alchemy to see into the now. So this becomes your vision. Vision is only relevant in the now. All those gifts that you have, particularly if you're looking for your clairvoyant gifts, you're invoking the Eye of God. This is immortal light. Very, very helpful. Hard to draw though. I had to get somebody else to draw it. So that's the way it is. It doesn't matter. View them how you see them. Don't try to access if you think they're 2D or 3D. Let them come to you how they come to you and let God in you play. So visualize this in your third eye or mind's eye and sing that. No, that's a hard one. I prefer to use a higher pitch on that, but that's just me. So ram. The second symbol, then you're going to start getting permission, and you need to ask for permission to receive what you see. That is how you distinguish between when egos tries to come in and control everything that maybe is out of alignment with your actual contract. When you're asking for permission to receive, you become the receiver. So this here is the flow of the Akash here, and this is you, and then you're out here. But when you come in from the flow of the Akash and the concordant records, this little plus you begin to visualize as being in here. So that puts you not out here, but in here. This is like being in the womb of God. That's what that really feels like to me, the womb of God or goddess. Ask for permission. There's no sound to that. There's no sound to these. Then you're going to visualize this one, the manifestation one here, third one, and you're going to begin to ask permission to manifest what you see through your mind, body, and spirit. Mind, this symbol, this little circle here, body here, connects everything, and then spirit, which is at the top. And then finally, sublimation. You're going to ask to bring this into the highest and best by raising what you just manifested into the highest and best status of what you can do in your soul contract. That is why you visualize this. There's no duality in this symbol. These circles are connected fully and they become one. Circling back, see that? So that's sublimation. So that answers your question, hopefully.
Awesome. I see there are a few questions in the Q&A, and it looks like some of these you've already answered, but I want you to just see if any of them still feel relevant. And yeah.
How do you eliminate fear? Nefertiti Ankara. Well, going back to the protection symbol, which I'm going to screen share again for you. Give me just a second. Right here, protection. You have fear because you believe that you are in power under, and sometimes when we have fear, it's good to ask for protection, right? And then if you go straight to this one, invoking the name of truth, the Satnam, it brings immediate peace. This is a transmutation symbol, and it grounds you. That is why I visualize myself sitting here in the center of it where all points meet, and then Mother Earth's all around me. And sometimes I get I'm very clairsentient. I'm a feeler. I'm an empathic channel and a physical medium as well. So I can feel earth underneath my feet. I can feel, sometimes I put my feet in sand, like in an ocean, and let water come up as well. And I combine symbols. Sometimes I put two of them together for this type of thing, particularly the water symbol and the earth symbol. And I imagine my feet in the sand, which is grounding me and calling upon the name of God in me. This is why this one over here, the alchemy cube, means invoking the name of truth. The Satnam is calling upon God in you. There cannot be any fear in God. And then water cleanses it away, and you realize you are the immortality, which is the I am. So yes, this is used for rebirth and realization of who you are. All right. Stop share for a minute. Hang on. How do I decide whether to access the Akash or the Concordant? I just don't particularly feel the need personally to access the Akash. I did not even have a particular curiosity. I mean, it's easy for me to say because I've been talking to all the beings that are me since age 5. And eventually other people got curious. So I was like, well, yeah, sure. You see Kali in me. I guess I'll go find out if I am. Didn't particularly care one way or the other until then. So if you are looking for names and situations, it might be good to go into the Akash because you can use the Satnam to pull forth the names and the circumstances. If you're looking through experiences that you feel need cleanse, it might be good to go through the Akash. But if you're ready to let go of the idea that you need cleansing and healing and all that, then go to the Concordant Records instead. I always advocate the use of the Concordant Records over the use of the Akash because it's more relevant in the now. What is the difference between the Akashic field and the quantum field? Akash is just a record of all quantum fields. Is it possible to access records that are glimpses of the future? Yes, that is what the Concordant Records are going to do to you because you're going to begin to manifest them. So I'm going to screen share again just so that I can remind you of why. Give me a second. This thing is, I'm going to, okay. So here, when you are, no, that's not it. Here. Sorry about that. Okay, so when you get to the use of this symbol, you are seeing something that is a potential when you use the receiver symbol, and then you begin receiving. Those are coming from the frequency of wonder, which is ancient alchemy magic. This is ancient occult tools before the occult became allegedly bad. So you are receiving fully what the potential is. And when you use this symbol, you choose to manifest it. When you use this symbol, you choose to manifest it in your highest and best potentiality. Understand why? Yes, you're getting glimpses of future, but then you get to manifest it. This is a manifestation world. That's what's so powerful about this class. Okay. Looking through your questions, give me just a second. How can you connect more? Using these symbols and meditation practice on a daily basis in the morning and evening. Much like anything in spiritual practice, you must commit to it for at least 20 minutes. And you must love yourself enough to keep doing it perpetually and don't give up. Consistency and dedication of meditation will help. And utilizing the symbols provided today consistently and will help. To overview, when I'm getting to another question from Grace, to overview, we meditate on the symbol, visualizing it, we chant, we set our intentions, and through this we will access the Akash or Concordant Records. Yes, and sometimes you can use the symbols while you're in the Akash to even make your knowledge more empowering. And based on how we are, cognizant, empathic, what the gift does, etc., yes, we will know or download our answers. Absolutely. Would you recommend working directly in the Concordant Records and moving away from the Akash as a collective? If you're done with it, yes. If you're not, you need to honor you. Only you know if you're done with being in pain and suffering all the time. If you are, please release the Akash. It's that simple. How can we connect more meaning and integrate within us so that we can have a higher connection with Concordant Records? I believe I just answered that. I heard the thought form of rewriting the Akash by way of this New Earth program. What are your thoughts? What is your idea of New Earth program? I'm not nuts about the word program. For some reason, I get all triggered and soapboxy whenever people use that word. I think I've had too much in my Akash of people trying to program me. But yeah, writing our own, and yeah, if you feel like you need one, but what if you leave it open What if there are no programs? What if that word is incredibly limiting? I realize I'm catalyzing you a little bit deeper with that answer, but feel free to ask for a clarification or ask me differently. How do you know if what is being revealed to you is coming from fear or from records? Well, listen to your body. Your body will tell you. If you get panicky, it can come from the Akash. You will not feel that way in the concordant records. It just doesn't happen. That means you're going into the Akash if you're getting fear. Can we access the records ourselves? Absolutely. That's why I'm giving you these tools. You don't have to go to anyone else. You are God, and you are Goddess, and you are all that is one. You are powerful beings. Do we need prayer or oration to open them or access? You mean meditation, I think? No. I also get a little bit soapboxy and triggered by the word prayer because it is a religious connotation. Prayers can also be sacred and powerful, and if they are coming from supplication, though, it's kind of disempowering. If it's like, oh, please give me this and please do that for me, then we are disempowering ourselves. Prayers of gratitude and celebration and love and praise enlighten and lift us. So the word prayer has a lot of meaning. So I don't want to say you need it, but if you want it and you feel aligned by it, I prefer meditation when doing this, and I get a lot more information when I meditate prior to and during the use of all this. To go into a meditation when you're doing this is absolutely perfect. If we aren't sure about where to start between the Akash and the concordant records because we don't feel we've ever deliberately accessed either, would it make sense to start with accessing the Akash? No. Ask yourself the questions. Think about why would I want to access the Akash? Why do I want to know? If you go back to that question, you will know whether or not you should access the Akash. So just go into deeper inquiry with yourself. Why do you want to know your past lives? How do you think it would benefit you to know your past lives? Some people come to me and they believe that they need to know the names of their spirit guides. And this is how I respond to that. It's not that it's irrelevant. It can be incredibly empowering. And I'm going to give you a quick little analogy of how it can be interesting when people in New Age communities put too much relevance on names and definitions and labels. And you're not a logo. You're not labels. Labels are things on jars. Normal is a setting on a washing machine. Some people access the Akash because they want to feel normal. They say that that's like a very common thing. I just want to feel normal. I just want peace. I just want love. And I'm like, why are you trying to be normal? I just want to be more human. Why are you trying to be human? You're not a human body. You're not human. You are glorious star seeds. Your human body is also glorious. Everything's beautiful and wonderful and perfect as is. So, it's just such a loaded question. Going back to my analogy, when people ask me should they access the Akash based upon wanting to know the names of their guides? Spirit guides are observing you, and they are fractals of you. They're observing you in this illusory, separate dream world. That's what Earth is. It's actually a dream. It's a dream for intention and expansion, for a deep love and realization of God within you. So if spirit guides are, say if you are a sports team player, you're at the Super Bowl. I know most of us here aren't, but so it might not be a perfect analogy, but it will make sense once you hear it. You are the star player. You are the quarterback. You are in the biggest Super Bowl stadium possible and the most important game. The ball gets thrown in your direction. Just tossed to you, and you're running and everyone's chasing you. I don't understand football enough to fully do this analogy. Not a sports girl. So you're running, you're going to make a touchdown, whatever you're doing in these games. And you look up to the fans and you're going, hey, I got the ball. What do I do? Somebody give me a name so I can know what to do with this ball. What are they going to do? Thousands of them, thousands of yous that are watching you. Because they're in oneness, they're all you. So they're all in the stadium and they're all looking at you, God. And that version of them that is going to that one God that has that ball right now. And you look up at them and you say, what do I do with this ball? Please give me guidance. Oh my God, I'm so scared. People are running after me. They're going, oh my God, what are you talking about? We're watching you. Show us how to be God. Show us how to make a touchdown. Go, go, go. You're the one with the talent. You're the one with the body. You're the one with the ball. You're the one in form. So do you see how disempowering it can be to be like, well, you know, I had this ball, but if I could just get one of the names of the thousands of me's that are in the stadium, I could probably run with it. No, it's the opposite way around. It's the opposite way around. Yeah. It probably gave you a completely different perspective there. I love teaching. I love when people go, oh my God, I didn't think of that.
So good.
What do you think about that?
It's so perfect because I can put myself in that role so many times where I'm just like waiting for permission. I'm waiting for someone to tell me like it's okay to just do what you feel. And even when you even when I was in the class with you and you like confirmed all these things that I already knew, but for some reason when you said them, I was like, okay, they can be real now. And then you literally said, I need you to trust what's coming through. It's just another example of that. So I personally feel that really strongly.
I don't think you needed my validation to feel reality in it. What you were seeking instead is connection. Acceptance is the first step in that. That's likely why I said you need to trust what's coming through so that you can accept it as real for you. And how do we do that? By connecting to others when we see ourselves in them. You saw in that brief moment a version of God that was in you, and you're like, oh, do I do that? Do I let her out? She does. So I guess it's okay because this human's doing it. This human's giving herself permission to be God. Believe me, I'm no different when I'm sitting there in front of hundreds and hundreds of people who are watching me. Oh my goodness. When I first started doing live events, my coworkers would have to keep buckets behind the stage because I had so much stage fright that they knew I was going to run back there and vomit at some point. But guides were like, do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I don't care if your voice is shaking and quaking when you speak your power. Do it anyway. You give the rest of us permission. Don't think that I'm not sitting there scared just because I'm a master at what I do.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I appreciate you so much. I don't know if there's any more questions you want to answer, but are there a few more?
Yeah. Someone said, can you rewrite your records? And I wanted to expand upon that. It's not really that. Everything is already in divine perfect accordance and has already happened in a zillion different ways, a zillion different times, and is perfect. What you're doing is realizing that perfection when you choose to rewrite a record. That is what you're really doing. And you're manifesting it higher. Remember the sublimation symbol? Into the highest status, highest and best. So you're expanding beyond that even. You're like, it's already perfect. Let me do it again. That was fun. I feel silly asking. No, don't feel silly asking. There's never a silly question. It's all relevant. I feel silly asking, but if I am in the now accessing the concordant records, does that mean that all multidimensional selves are doing the same in their now? Best question in class. Absolutely, yes, it does. You're doing it for them and they're doing it for you. They're learning through you how to be in a body, and you're learning through that portion of you that's in spirit, how to access spirit and remember spirit God in you. How powerful is that unity? And she said, I feel so seen. Welcome to my world. I had this interesting core belief coming in as a renowned channel in this world, but I was also coming in as a musical child prodigy. I sang before I talked. So imagine that. And I was this shy, quiet little girl. And my first belief was, I am not worthy of being seen. How weird and ironic is that? God, it's so fun. Golf clap. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So many of you channels watching today resonate. I so get it. I wish you could see yourself and give yourself permission for being seen. See the beauty that I see in you. You can see the talent that I see in you. You can see the goddess that I see in you. I wish all of you could see it in the way that I'm seeing it right now. That is my greatest wish for this outcome and result of this class. What do the Reiki symbols have to do with Akasha? I don't know. That's also the type of teacher I am. I'm like, that's not really in my field. But I will say that you can use Reiki symbols to access the Akash. I have seen other people do it, and I have observed it, and that's in their own teaching, not mine. But I know Reiki symbols are incredibly powerful for obvious reasons. And you can go become a Reiki master if you want to find out. I did that in another life, but I don't have much memory of it yet. It's not relevant to my now, in other words. What if I don't feel the need to access the Akash? Will I be losing out? That's a fun question. No, you will not be losing out. That means you're in the now. If you don't feel the need to know, isn't that great? Isn't that indicative of how much you trust? You're doing great. I don't access them very much. I don't particularly care. Unfortunately, the guys just slam the information at me anyway, and I'm like, but I sometimes wish I didn't know. Because then I had to sit there and go, does that mean I need to heal it? And I went through all the stages that you did, believe me. Are we able to access the concordant records through our dream state? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The dream state, there is a powerful message that came through me from Robin Williams, who I'll be channeling later today on my community. He's responsible for the majority of my humor in this class. So if I've been a little bit touche, I'm sorry, but I'm not. Sorry, not sorry. So yes, Robin Williams said to me today, what if everything that happens when you close your eyes at night is real? You just have no human point of reference to imagination. You think you're making it up. What if everything that happens when you open your eyes in the morning is dream?
Mm-hmm. It's great that you're saying that, because our class next month is Awaken the Dream.
Mm-hmm.
And it's based on what my son said to me, which is, what if when we're sleeping is when we're awake?
Mm-hmm. Smart boy. Are there any rules or steps to accessing the concordant records? Nothing that I haven't already taught. It is a wide open field. There is one thing, though, that I advise, and though it's not a hard set rule. I'm not crazy about hard set rules and lines around stuff. And you know how I feel about labels. But when you get information, you're going to start to wonder. You're going to start to want to manifest it. It's going to start to show up in your daily life, not just in meditations and dreams. This stuff changes your life. It's powerful, and it will become your world. So I would like for you to choose powerfully. And I would like for you to formulate no attachment to the visions you see, because attachments are expectations, and expectations are just the death of the dream. If you have an expectation, it normally is a fear. You can have hope. You can have faith. You can say, this is powerful. This is what I wish for my highest and best. And now I'm going to go about my day and go about the next most believable steps in my manifestation, powerfully creating. Without attachment to what was shown for me in these records, because they are only potentials. and they are great potentials. But when attachment gets involved, it is a judgment, and then you're going back to the Akash. Any advice on how to use the records for healing physical pain? The Akash is better for that because physical pain comes from an illusion of separation and fear in your body. So I like to use the sounds when I do that. The source tones are very, very healing. Do them over and over and over again while visualizing the symbols and asking what is in the highest and best for this healing. What is in the highest and best for this healing? Repeat that mantra over and over and over again. Visualize the symbol and then start toning your mind out loud, whatever you want to do. And oh, she didn't mean prayer. English, not the first language, yeah. English is sort of a barbaric language. It's not my favorite. I mean, if we need any words in order to open them, no. No, they come, but the tones are incredibly helpful. The tones that we're taught that go along with the symbols, especially for the Akash. How do you navigate messages about other people when accessing your own concordant records? Well, if you asked, you're going to know. You're going to know because of the feelings that come along with that. If you have fear, you need to heal something. That's such a loaded question because the concordant records are not here to tell you what to do. They're here to get you to choose what is in the highest and best for how God thinks, how God feels, and then what God does. So when you get a message about someone in the concordant records, go back to those affirmations. God in me thinks, God in me feels, God in me does, God in me is. So play around with those affirmations, and then you're going to know how to navigate these messages because you're choosing. God in you is choosing when you work with those affirmations. Is there a way to know when we're in the concordant records when meditating? You feel very peaceful, very neutral. In the concordant records, there's not a lot of fear. And once you open up more, you get potentials that cause you to feel bliss and love. I cry a lot in the concordant records because I feel compassion, I feel bliss, I feel divine love, I feel great. So when you feel negative, chances are you're in the Akash. When you feel neutral, peaceful, love, bliss, joy, celebration, hope, faith, you're recognizing all these positive feeling signatures that come through your alchemy teachings, then you are in the concordant records. Because they're not going to show you something that's in your highest and best that doesn't feel good, because then it wouldn't be in your highest and best. It'd be in the Akash. So, what is the concept of soul contracts old paradigm? For some people, yes. For many here today, yes. I don't really identify with the word contract. It's like this. Here's something written on a piece of paper is going to define you. How do you feel about that? To me, that just feels like putting me in a glass jar and slapping a label on it going, contract, sign here. And I'm going to go, oh, well, all right, I do have a contract. It is to be love. I do have a contract. It is isness. I do have a contract to remember I'm God. Isn't it just so much more freeing to just eliminate these old paradigms and just say, yeah, if I do have a contract, it's just to stop believing in contracts. Robin. It's going to be a fun channeling. Oh, Emily says she feels like she is suspended between the Akashic perspective and the concordant run. Okay, be that. There's a reason for it. I don't feel drawn to working through the past, but my desires for my future and how to serve the highest good have felt nebulous and uncertain. That's not always bad. Do you have any advice on how to navigate this transition? Sound. Sound will silence all of the fears. When I go into what I call sadhana, I get that way. I'm a sound alchemist for that reason, because when my brain is going, stop it, you're not this, you would have this, and you should have that, and you could have that. Sometimes also it's uncertain. It's like, well, I don't know what's right to choose. That's ego. When it's nebulous, when you're afraid of uncertainty, you can say, well, what if uncertainty actually gets to be just that? And there's no bad attached to that. There's no judgment attached to that. There's nothing attached to that. And you get to trust. So then you would be working with the intention, what is trust, when you were going through your concordant records? You are a concordant record girl. I can tell by your questions here. I can feel it, but you just don't know. So I call this the part of me that is kind of the empathic control freak. She wants to know. Concordant records isn't so you can know. That would imply a set record again. Concordant records is so you can choose and say, oh, yes, it's uncertain. And that's great, because that's the miracle. Mm-hmm. That power of not knowing is the miracle. Mm-hmm. And you just say, oh, I am God, so I don't need to know. I'm God learning in a body, so I'm creating as I go along. Mm-hmm. Stop giving me Monty Python quotes. I had no idea that Robin Williams loved Monty Python. He just went, she's making it up as she goes along.
Oh my gosh.
I did. My notes for this class look like this. That's it. 5 minutes preparation before I got here, but I've taught this class about 5,500 times. So no, Robin, I'm not making it up as I go along. He's like, oh, but you are. Oh my gosh. It's okay to be suspended. It's okay to be neutral. When I go into the sadhana, which is a deeper level of bliss sounding, when you just cry from overwhelm of realization that you are God. I call it, sometimes when it happens, my sabhana, because I'm sobbing in bliss at knowing I'm God. Robin gave me that word. I was sitting in sadhana and he's like, God, the tears. And you're happy. This doesn't make sense. This is not a sadhana. This is a sabhana. So get up and go get some tissues. You're getting boogers all over me and I don't even have a body. Sorry, I can't contain his silliness. So yeah, please be you. Do I have a school? That's a loaded question. Do I have a school? Earth is my school. No, seriously though, you can join my community at Patreon. You can look me up if you want to call it a school. Just a bunch of teachings. Why would you say this information is being shared with us right now in this class? My answer to you is, why not? You asked for it, it came, it's perfect at this divine timing, and is needed on this earth at this time, so that you can get out of power over, power under paradigms. Nothing wrong with old teachings. Really, I truly respect them and sometimes still use them. And most of the time, I don't need to. I don't know if my Robin channeling will be posted on YouTube or not. We'll have to see how it goes. I made him promise that he wouldn't drop the F-bomb in channeling today, because I'm going to be in trance. And he went like this. He went, oh, okay. So I don't like to do F-bombs in trance channeling, and I've never channeled a person who isn't ascended. So this is new for me, and I don't know if I'm going to make it public.
So for those of you that are asking, Pamela has a lot of ways that you can work with her. And actually the timing of her being with us is so special because she has the Patreon community, which I mentioned I'm a part of and I've been a part of since day one, since I saw that she started it. She has classes on her website, which you can access, which are very extensive. She mentioned a couple of them. They are done as recordings mostly. And then you have one coming up on your site that is for, what is the one coming up for?
Oh, I'm listening to Funny Man over here and it completely slipped my mind. It is Galactic History, Atlantis and Lemuria. So it's teaching an Atlantean and Lemurian healing protocol that's new.
Yeah, so Pamela is a galactic historian. She's also an alchemist. She's also obviously a channeler and a medium. She trans channels. She's a trans channel. So she is also a mentor. And this is the thing that I wanted to mention, that Pamela is actually going to be no longer offering individual sessions come very, very soon. So that means that the potential to get a reading done from her is coming to a close, which I'm so excited about that. However, she is already has started her mentorship program, which means that if you're looking for mentorship, you can work with her individually to develop your gifts. So there are many, many ways to access Pamela's work and to still work with her that are available. Her Patreon community is a membership community, just like this one, where there are classes and channelings that the community does vote on. And then there are the other ways that I mentioned. And then are there any other ways that there is YouTube, but the YouTube information is all pretty much pulled from what's in Patreon.
And you can get a lot of the free sadhanas and sound teachings, and sometimes free just talks and Q&As and other teachings at my Facebook community. Don't do much on Instagram these days, but my Facebook communities, there's two of them. One's small, one's big. Like small communities, join the small one. If you like big communities, join the big one. So there's that. And then there's in-person stuff. I have some work coming up at St. George. I have, that's in October. So you'll see that if you join my newsletter from my website. So I have in-person channels, and I do readings in person only these days. So you can get a session afterwards if you sign up in advance whenever you see that that particular channeling event. I'm going to be channeling oneness here at the Center for Spiritual Living in St. George. They gave me an office and they call me home, so I'm going to do them that favor, and they're going to do me a favor too by letting me use their facility for that. So we only have about 50 seats for that because we're so small here. We're such family. We don't have a lot of room right now. So, and then I'm waiting on the College of Psychic Studies to approve me, but that's looking really, really good. And so I'll be putting a schedule on that for you UK people in London. So you'll get to see, and we'll be having a free meetup as well after that, just for community to say hello and get to know each other that weekend. Tons of things coming up. I'm trying to get on the schedule for a spiritual center in Beijing next year. So I've been approved for that, but we just have to pick a date. That's next spring. I travel quite a bit. So if you just follow the newsletter, there's several ways to work with me, not just online. It's just that if you want in person, you have to pay attention to the newsletter.
And so whenever people say, who do you get readings done? Here you are. I recommend all of the ways that you can work with her. I've worked with her in all the ways, and I definitely recommend all of them. And this is obviously just a taste of what she brings forth. And obviously you can feel the energy with her. It feels very, very safe. And that's the reason why I, select certain people to bring as guests on the school, because I know that it can be difficult to discern with so many people online who to work with. But for me, people that are part of what Pamela calls the authenticity movement it's so important. So again, thank you so much. I can't say enough. Thank you. I am so looking forward to being there for the Robin Williams channeling today, because I already saw the little blip that you did on YouTube, and then now I know your energy is very playful and very fun all the time, and I can absolutely feel his particular influence today with how much kind of like fun we're having, and it feels really good.
It is really good. I'm hesitant to trance with him though, because if he drops an F-bomb, I'm just going to be so ultimately ashamed, because I don't do that in trance. So I'm
later.
But then you guys know I dropped an F-bomb. That's forever. The internet's forever.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Oh, thank you
I
so
might go clear
much.
comment on this.
Thank you so much. And everyone, thank Pamela for being here. And please do connect with her in the many, many ways. Like I said, obviously her information is very, very in-depth, but it's also really easy to access because it's what you already know. So that's what I feel about her information. It's always very, very clear. And as I said, she's always bringing through the most current information that for me takes everything that you're already feeling and knowing and just takes it to that, like, oh, right, concurrent records. That makes so much sense. And it is because she is working on a daily basis with these ascended masters and these angel collectives and these Christ consciousness beings. So it's just such a blessing to have you on earth with us at this time as a guide.
Thank you for having me.
And we love you so much.
I
And
love you too.
I will see you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Okay, everyone. How's everyone feeling? How much fun was that? Let me exit full screen. Mind blowing, right? Mind blowing. I feel that I had a lot of information that I wanted to bring through, and at the same time, I feel that it feels very complete. I feel that we're going to end here, and it's almost a full class. So even though I didn't get to share a lot of what I have in my notes, I feel that it feels right. And what I want to say, just because I know there were a lot of questions about this, about is it the Akash or is it the concurrent? And again, what I want to say is that because Angela does channel these angelic beings and these ascended beings, she's getting information in the moment. So even though, I may have presented this class and said, we're going to talk about the Akashic records, and it's a record of past, present, future. I called this class the Akashic records, past, present, future, and parallel lifetimes. The distinction that is important of the name, right, doesn't change the information that we're talking about. It's the distinction of the name that we have that is super empowering, that came from the angels, that are saying that it's helpful to look at this distinction now of the Akash being the things from the past, and the concurrent being those things that are still etheric, they're still that realm of possibility, but that they are the highest and best potential. And that falls completely in line with what I want to talk about and what I want to share, which is about that we write our own destiny, right? And for those of you that have been with me since the beginning, you know that when I taught timeline jumping, which is accessing all of these potential possibilities that we have in all of these different parallel realities, you know that I named what I call the highest and best as the destiny timeline. And it is the timeline that we are writing, that we're choosing in this moment. And if you've read my article where I talked about folding time, it's a time traveler's guide to ascension. It basically talks about how we are in this place now where we have, in the human collective, where we have ascended the karmic paradigm. We no longer need to work from a place of these soul contracts and these soul agreements, and that we have in the moment the possibility of what we call these portals of choice points, right? And that this is available in the Book of Life, or as we're now going to call the concurrent records. It is available to us that there are multiple possibilities within each moment that we have access to, and that we as the observer in form have the ability to line up with the highest potential. And one of the questions that I love that Pamela said is, the God in me acts this way, the God in me thinks this way, the God in me moves this way. And one of the questions that I have in one of my meditations that I do is I ask the question, what is it that wants to be expressed through me as me? So it's the same sort of idea. It's the idea that you want to be open to connect to the highest potential in this moment and to choose from the energy of what is possible and that that's what it means to write your own destiny. It's not this idea that, you know, you have this pre-birth plan and everything is set ahead and it's like a predeterminist model. This is the model that we're going to be working with in this school. That this is why I taught timeline jumping as the very, very first class, which is that we have access to all of this information that is available in the concurrent records that allows us to see that we can choose from a place of what Pamela calls a vibration of wonder, and what some people call miracles, and what I call destiny, you know. And it is absolutely choosing of the highest potential. And the thing about this that is interesting is that, and I said this on Twitter the other day, that it feels like after this eclipse season and after this Lions Portal Gateway, that the 2 or 3 world split, however you want to call it, is going to reveal itself much more clearly. And what that means is that the people that are still choosing that power over, power under dynamic, and whatever that dynamic is, whether that dynamic is, you know, you see yourself as underprivileged and other people as privileged, whether you see yourself as like the women and then the men, or whatever the dynamic is, it has so many different manifestations of that power over, power under dynamic. That is an old paradigm that we do not need to learn from anymore. And that the people who are choosing from a place of wonder, from a place of miracles, from a place of instant manifestation, that split between the people who are still living in that reality, and it's not wrong, and it's not to say that, you know, it's not, it's still valid. That's why it feels like so people are still choosing it, because it's still a truth. It's just not potentially where you are, what the God in you needs to learn. So in knowing that, that brings forth, again, these teachings on forgiveness, which is what I was going to talk about next class. I was going to talk about forgiveness work. But I think I feel really good about everything that was shared. Obviously, Pamela shared a ton of amazing information. So happy that she went into those alchemy symbols and those source tones. They're very, very powerful. And I'm also really happy, because this is what I was going to talk about, that my first access with the working with the records or the Book of Life was, first, it just instantly started downloading. So I had a clear knowing of things. And then I started accessing them in dreams. And I did learn how to access gifts and talents. I was calling it the Akash, but we'll call it the concurrent records. I did learn how to download gifts and talents that I had. I think I've talked about this before. This is how I learned how to all of a sudden access my information that I knew about plant medicine. I did learn how to access my gifts and my talents that I had. And again, Pamela was mentoring me through learning how to come more into my mediumship gifts. She was the one that told me that my strongest gift is telepathy, and that and precognition, so prophecy. So seeing things before they happen. So that's why I love working with the idea of parallel realities and future timelines, and creating future timelines from receiving things as a vision, receiving things as a knowing, and creating from that place of having seen the vision of what's possible, and then I go to work to bring it into form. That is what is exciting for me. It is not exciting for me to work so much from the past, but I definitely was in that place where I wanted those names. I wanted to know that I was a fractal of Isis's divinity. I wanted a little bit of that information. So I also understand for sure what it can be to feel like you want to get that information too. And so it's not wrong. So I'm grateful for the way that she presented this work in such an empowering way, and that nothing that you feel or you want or you feel called to is wrong, but just to create that distinction with asking, is this what the God in me wants right now? How does the God in me perceive this? And so you're making the ego the no longer the master, right? The ego is the servant to the higher self, or the God self within you that is becoming fully realized. So I'm so grateful for this class. This is so fun. Thank you for being here with me on this Friday the 13th. I appreciate and love all of you. And I'm so excited. The next class is going to be really fun and juicy. This is the first time that we've had the guest first and then, you know, me coming in as second. So it's really interesting and I really appreciate it. And I do hope that I will see some of you on Pamela's Patreon community. It is very fun. And like I said, she definitely, absolutely does regular teachings and channelings. And you can see she brings through a lot of great information. So I'm so happy to have been able to introduce you all to her. I was keeping her hidden for a while, but I am so grateful to share all of my resources with you all. Anything that I think can help you and benefit you is what I'm here to do. So much love to everyone. Have such a beautiful, amazing day. And definitely pay attention to these energies that are happening right now, because as you know, there are like 5 or 6 something planets in retrograde right now, and we're in eclipse season, and it's just a very, very, very powerful time of realizing and writing the highest possibility for our lives to be fully manifest here in the now moment. So much love to all of you. All right. Peace.